Imagine, it's the year 1989, and you're relaxing at home one evening, and right before going to bed, you hear a strange noise from the corner, only to be attacked by a mysterious figure. Before you know it, you're unconscious, and when you wake up, believe you were a victim of a burglary assault. Only to eventually discover that the person who attacked you that night was the infamous serial killer, the Night Stalker. And that is what happened to one of the Night Stalker's victims, Whitney Bennett, who thankfully survived his brutal attack. After finishing Philip Carlo's true crime book, The Night Stalker, The Disturbing Life and Chilling Crimes of Richard Ramirez, it reminded me just how sadistic some people can become. And keep in mind, if you decide to read this book, it will get pretty gruesome with some of the details the author puts into it, and give you a true idea of who Richard Ramirez really was. But his purpose for writing this way is so that readers will not misunderstand anything about the terrible story of Richard, after conducting long interviews with the serial killer himself. You see, Richard was a serial killer who had an appetite of destroying many people's lives. The author, Philip Carlo, wrote an extremely detailed, well-researched bio of Richard Ramirez about his savage murders, rapes, and kidnappings of several people in Los Angeles between the years 1984 and 1985. And the book separates into three parts, starting from his childhood, then shifting to his adulthood, and eventually ending with his killing sprees prior to his trial. To start off, Ramirez grew up in a traditional, law-abiding parent home. But it was also noted that his father had a short temper who often beat his children. But both parents did love their children, and just wanted a better life for them. His brothers did do drugs and commit petty crimes, so it didn't take long for Richard to take after their bad habits. It was also mentioned that all the boys were sexually molested as children by teachers and neighbors. But what really messed up Richard the most was when his cousin, Mike, who was a Green Beret in Vietnam, brought back some photos of the Vietnam women he had raped and killed. Ramirez did admit that those photos did sexually excite him, so some people think this was actually a major factor that had unlocked his sick fantasies. And it didn't help when Richard was 11, he witnessed his cousin, Mike, murdering his wife. Mike was not found guilty by reason of insanity, and only spent 4 years in a mental hospital. And after he was released, he and Richard continued to spend time together. As you can see, this was not a promising path for Richard, who dropped out of 9th grade, and by his early 20s, moved to California, took drugs, prayed to Satan, and robbed people. Now Ramirez did admit to many of his crimes, but he never admitted to all of them. So people don't really know just how many people he actually raped and killed. All we do know is that he began his murder spree in 1984, and was eventually convicted of 13 murders, 11 rapes, and numerous other attempts of rape and murder. And his victims ranged between the ages of 9 to 79. So he didn't really have a preference. But his method of approaching his victims remained the same, which was scoping a house, sneaking in, killing any man he found, and then tying up and beating the woman before raping her. What makes things interesting was that he didn't kill all the women he raped, and didn't do much to cover his own tracks. That was because he believed Satan was looking after him. But his chaos spree only lasted a year before he got caught on August 31, 1985, in East Los Angeles, when a group of people had beat him down in order to capture him. Now something that was found interesting was how do you categorize a person like Richard? Immediately, you'd think he'd be a sociopath because he enjoyed raping and killing people. But he showed more concern for his family than one would expect from a sociopath. Not only did he care about his sister and nieces, but he initially wanted to plead guilty to spare his family the stress of going through a trial. Especially since he just wanted to get the trial over with, because he saw it as pointless. And this trial did hurt his father a lot because the father was even planning to kill his wife, and then end his own life because of just how embarrassed he was. Richard even cried when his sister, Ruth, came to visit him in jail. So this compassion he had for his family did show he did have some human feelings underneath his dark heart. And who knows, maybe he could have lived a normal life if not for his early childhood experiences. During the trial, there was no chance he was going to be found innocent, and was labeled as the Night Stalker. He even went against his own defense team by going in contempt in court by flashing satanic symbols, laughing at his victims when they got on the stand, and being a jerk throughout the entire trial. What's weird is that one of the jurors ended up falling in love with Richard and marrying him. And what's even weirder is that she voted not only to just convict him, but to give him the death penalty as well. But she wasn't the only one who had a fascination with Richard Ramirez either. Richard had groupies who would show up to the courtroom, visit him in jail, and openly admit to fantasizing about him raping them. There were even chat rooms and internet forums filled with Ramirez fans who thought he wasn't guilty. So as you can imagine, the entire trial played out like a circus with many different attorneys representing Richard. But in 1989, Richard was found guilty, and given 19 death sentences, plus 6 years for each of the 33 other charges. Although things did get messy in the courtroom, it's a relief to see that Richard was found guilty, and arrested for the murders he committed. I recommend checking out this book if you have the stomach to read through the gross details done by Richard. And if you have any books you'd like for me to review, just let me know in the comments below.